I'm joined now by Ernst Young's Marie Diron. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning to talk about this. If we look at the overall picture in France, it's hard to do it today without looking at those strikes. Oh. It is a situation where the austerity measures are obviously being protested against. But just how much support is there for Nicolas Sarkozy's austerity measures in France?
I think it's what you see in many countries in France and other countries that have to go through these very painful measures, and obviously popular support is not there initially, but I think deep down people know that this is unavoidable, and the French government has chosen to get through the short-term measures as well as the more longer-term one. These pension reforms that is protested against today is really looking at the more kind of medium-term future, and I think the political will is very much there, so I think the reform will go through after a few days of protest and conciliation.
And this was very much the kind of ticket on which Sarkozy came in on, wasn't it? You know, work longer hours, earn some more money, almost don't be so French, you know. And how has that gone down? Overall, it doesn't look like his popularity is quite where it was.
It is difficult for governments in France, like anywhere else, to get these painful measures through. That is obviously a necessary process, and we see popularity going down. But I think the situation is such that there's no way out. The financial markets are really pushing for this financial restructuring, and I think the political will is there. So as long as politicians keep an eye on the medium-term objectives, I think they will go through.
Now, he might be facing some unpopularity at home, but overall economists seem to be rather more positive about France's situation. Some analysts saying that he actually handled the financial crisis rather well. Overall, where do you see France fitting into the jigsaw of Europe at the moment? France
did not suffer as much as other countries during the financial crisis. The decline in 2009 was not as strong as, say, in Germany. Now, having said that, the bounce back hasn't been as strong either. So we're seeing really very much France in the middle of the pack in the Eurozone, with growth at about 1.5%. So probably not quite enough to sustain the fall in unemployment we've seen recently. So there are still really big hurdles, and in particular companies being very cautious in their investment and in employment decisions.
Now, the export-led boom that we saw in Germany was reflected a little bit in France, but not so much. Where is the engine of growth for France going forward?
That's right. France has struggled to really get positions in the fast-growing emerging markets of Asia and, to a lesser extent, Latin America, and that's why the contrast in the second quarter was really obvious vis-à-vis Germany. So really France traditionally has relied more on its domestic consumption. Now, looking forward, this is mainly not so positive, given the big fiscal cuts that are going to hit household incomes. So French companies need to really place themselves on these fast-growing markets to go forward.
Have a look at emerging markets. And if we look at what's happening with Nicolas Sarkozy, there has been some talk that I think Giscard d'Estaing was the only politician in recent times to have a one-term presidency. Is it possible that Nicolas Sarkozy could be the same?
Well, obviously the 2012 presidential election deadline is starting to loom ahead, so that is something that is a concern of politicians. But as I said, I think the political will is there, the support of the European community is there for the reforms to go through, so I think the government is still going to carry ahead.
And overall, we're talking about, I think France is looking for about a over 2% growth target for next year. With everything that you've said, do you think that sounds a little bit optimistic? It sounds like you think that.
It is still on the optimistic side. The government has revised it down from 2.5. We're still somewhere below at 1.5. I think it is still optimistic, given what we've seen recently, given what I said, this really cautiousness from companies to invest and hire.
OK. Marie Diron from Ernst Young, thank you very much indeed for coming in.